one of the things that I'm most focused on is keeping my CO2 tolerance really, really high. And that's like, I almost guard that. And so I want to make sure that I'm not over breathing at any time, even if I am over breathing. So that's why like I do enjoy Wim Hof's breath, because even though it's over breathing, it's always followed with holding the breath afterwards so that you get your CO2 back up and you're challenging your CO2 tolerance. So you could work into over breathing for a short period of time as long as you bring it back to the breath holds. And then I'll work through what I call the vitalizing sequence. And so this is where I'm going to really start to work into my long holds. I'm warm, my lungs are warm, my diaphragm is working really good. My sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system are feeling really balanced. And so when I go into my breath holds, I could do them much longer than if I was just to start trying to, if like, let's say for instance, I was just to hold my breath right now, it'd be nowhere near as long as it would be if I did my warm up and my heat building. And so then after I move through that sequence, then I'll move into like a cool down sequence that brings me down into the state of my nervous system that I want to be at, which doesn't necessarily mean that I want to be in my dorsal vagal complex or my parasympathetic nervous system. I might be doing this breath exercise and then going to the gym after, or going for a run or something like that. So I'm going to leave myself in a little bit higher state. So I might do a more balanced breath, like box breathing, where you inhale for 5, hold for 5, exhale for 5, hold for 5. So something that brings more, not necessarily calm, but not over amped up. And so this is kind of like how I approach my practice. And I do the same kind of thing if I'm working for, let's say I'm going to sleep. I will approach it the same way. I'll do a warm up. I'll probably do a lot of breaths where I add some humming into it. So if we hum, it vibrates our paranasal sinuses, and this increases more nitric oxide. And so if I increase more nitric oxide, I get, it'll help relax me, a lot of parasympathetic nervous tone. Another thing that's great with that too is let's say if you're studying or you need to learn or need to focus and concentrate, you could also do this humming breath in yoga. It's called Brahmari. It's very simple, just like close your mouth and and then you take a slow inhale after that. So I take a deep inhale. On the exhale. And one of the things that you could do is when you're exhaling, making that humming noise, is you could feel the vibrations. And so I'll choose a tone in my hum that resonates the most in my sinus cavities. And then I'll take a slow inhale through that. And so that increases my nitric oxide. So you could do that for sleep. You could do that for memory and concentration, learning. It's also something to do, really good to do before you go to bed, because when you sleep, that's when you convert, your short-term memory into long-term memory. And so if you do that humming, you're going to increase the nitric oxide, and then your brain is going to work better as you sleep. Also, it helps with sexual performance as well. Cialis and Viagra work off of basically the same kind of neurotransmitter as nitric oxide. It's just a derivative of it. So it's very powerful tool in that sense as well.
Can you give me your pre-sleep breathing routine? I mean, this is gold potentially, because I played around with box breathing. One of my former guests was actually Ido Portal, mentioned when I was in Israel doing our documentary with him. He mentioned box breathing to just slow things down before you go to sleep. And I'm telling you, Dylan, when I tried it, I had this, I had the oxygen deprivation feeling for the first time in my life. So I'm in the middle, it's 1 a.m, I'm trying to get back to sleep, and I'm feeling, God, I really need to take some oxygen. And I didn't know what to do with that feeling. So this helps a lot. But what do you do before you go to bed besides that vibrating piece?
So, well, that's kind of how I would start with it. I start my breath practice first. If I'm doing this, if I'm having trouble sleeping, so I would sit up, and I would start with a little bit of alternate nostril breathing. Alternate nostril breathing, If you think your nose, if you're breathing through your nose, it cuts down the amount of air you take in about 50%. So then if I breathe in through one nostril, then it's going to cut it down to about breathing in about 25%. So I'll inhale. And another thing that happens just by touching the left and right side of your face like this, you're bringing attention to the left and right hemisphere of your brain. And so you're helping to create balance in that. So you have a physical touch, which is bringing awareness here and then bringing awareness here. So you're starting to create a little bit of balance. Sleep is about feeling in harmony. Like if you're stressed out, if you think you need to do something, you have those to-dos going or whatever that is, then it's going to be really hard to sleep because the mind hasn't stopped. And so you need to put yourself into the right headspace. So I'll start with an inhale. I'll inhale for 5. I'll hold for 5. Then I'll switch and I'll exhale through the other nostril with that humming. And I'll just count to 5. Like a slow count. And the count doesn't need to be 5. It's whatever you feel comfortable with. For me, like 5 just feels like a very nice, relaxing one. And I skip the bottom retention. So I don't do the bottom retention. I only do the inner retention. So I inhale, I skip the bottom retention, and then I'll just like a pause, like a comfortable pause, what you would do naturally. Then I'll inhale through the same nostril. And it's really important that inhale is very soft because you just built up all this nitric oxide in your paranasal sinuses. You don't want to just like suck it in, right? You want to be able to extract it out almost. And so I'll inhale that very slowly for that same 5 seconds, but with a soft breath. So I'm not trying to do a full breath, not trying to do a deep breath. I'm trying to keep my breath just what it normally is, which is my tidal volume. So roughly about half a liter.
The greedy bankers are about to do it again. In 2008, they crashed our financial system and nearly bankrupted the entire global economy. Then they received trillions of dollars in government bailouts. And after, they demanded fat bonuses paid for by you, the taxpayer.
It turns out the banks haven't just been screwing the American taxpayers, they're also screwing over their investors. Turns out the banking industry is the worst place you could put your money, despite enormous taxpayer bailouts.
Now the bankers are back to take away your financial freedom. They lie and tell you that cryptocurrency isn't safe. They try to make it illegal for you to choose how to invest your hard-earned money. They lie and say cryptocurrency is used by money launderers and criminals. But look at the record. It's the banks themselves that launder hundreds of billions of dollars every year to the biggest criminal operations in the world.
Leaked documents have revealed how some UK banks have helped criminals, money launderers and Russians under sanctions.
American authorities discovered that the Sinaloa cartel moved $881 million through HSBC accounts as bank officials turned a blind eye to the illegality.
The bankers lie and say cryptocurrency is not a real investment. Meanwhile, the smartest CEOs in the world are buying billions and billions of it. The truth is that banks lie about cryptocurrency because it makes them scared. The banks take $9 trillion per year of your hard-earned money, and they are worried that they will finally be exposed. They're scared because crypto means they can no longer control your money, which means they can no longer control you. They are scared because you might actually understand your money and intelligently decide what to do with it. Now is the time for us to come together, fight back, and take control. It's time to educate ourselves, our families, and our communities. Because financial education means financial freedom. We know that cryptocurrencies will help us build the new decentralized financial system of the future. A banking system that is of the people, by the people, and for the people. A banking system where access to finance is a fundamental human right. A banking system that is free and fair and welcomes all humans on this earth. The DeFi revolution is happening. We, the people, can no longer be fooled. We choose to take control of our finances. We choose to take control of our freedom. We choose to take control of our future. Join us, and let's take back our financial freedom forever.